Today I'm going to show you how to crochet this pine tree cushion. So fluffy, look at that. It has a lining and it's so easy to make, and it's perfect to decorate for Christmas. So this is what we are going to be making in today's video, and this is going to be my last crochet Christmas video. I'm so upset. I wanted to go on. So yeah, this is what we are going to learn in today's video. I really hope you like it, and now let's begin. So the first thing we are going to be doing will be crocheting 2 of these, in which is the shape of our cushion. So we need one for the front and one for the back. And let me show you the yarns I have used. So for the tree, for the green part, I have used these 2 yarns combined together. So this is the Bravissimo, a DK yarn. This one, I forgot the name, but I'll leave the materials and everything that I have used listed in the description, so feel free to check it out. This yarn is a fuzzy, fluffy yarn that you can combine with other yarns and it makes it fluffy. That's why it has this fluffy texture, in which I absolutely love it. And it looks like an actual Christmas tree, in which is so beautiful. And then for the bottom of the Christmas tree, I also have combined 2 different yarns in brown here. So this one is 100% cotton. This is a number 2 yarn. And this other one is a DK one, 100% acrylic. And then for my crochet hook, I'm going to be using a 6mm. Now, let's learn how to crochet the Christmas tree. So we are going to start from the top of the tree and then work our way up to the bottom. So I'm going to be putting together the 2 yarns I'm going to be using for the tree. So the DK yarn and the fuzzy yarn. So you want to leave enough yarn for the weave-in that you usually do. I'm going to be making a magic ring, but you can also do a chain of 4, join into the first one to make a ring. So once you have your ring, chain 1, and then into the ring you're going to work 2 double crochets. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Wrap the yarn around the hook. Insert your hook into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's how you make a double crochet. Now you're going to close the ring. If you're done with the chain, then you can just close it later. Now we are going to be chaining 1, turn our work. So here we have 2 double crochets. We are not going to be counting the chain ones that we are going to be making as a stitch. So into the next 2, you're going to be working 2 double crochets. So into the first one, work 2 double crochets. And then into the last one, work 2 double crochets. And now the repeat is going to be simply chaining 1, turn your work. Into the very first one, you're going to work 2 double crochets. And then work 1 double crochet until you get to that very last stitch. So in this case here, I'm going to work 1 double crochet into the next 2. And then when you get into the last one, you're going to work 2 double crochets. So we are going to be increasing only at the end and at the beginning. And we are going to be repeating this until we have 10 rows in total. So chain 1, 2 double crochets into the very first stitch, and then 1 double crochet all the way down until you get to the very last one. So when you get into the last one, work 2 double crochets. So we are increasing only at the beginning and at the end. So this is what we are making now, this very first triangle section of the tree. So I have here 3 rows and we have to make 10 in total. So once you have 10, come back so that we can make the next section together. And if you want for this next section, you can use 1 or 2 stitch markers. I'm going to, so I can show you what to do. So now you're going to be chaining 1 and turning your project. I'm going to remove my hook from here. And then we are going to be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to be adding a stitch marker into stitch number 6. And then go at the end and you're going to do the same. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then add a stitch marker into stitch number 6. So now for row 11, you're going to be slip stitching into the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we are going to be chaining 1, removing the stitch marker, into stitch number 6, where the stitch marker was. You're going to work 2 double crochets. If you want, you can add your stitch marker back into the first double crochet, just so that you know that this was the very first double crochet. Now from here, you're going to be working 1 double crochet into every single stitch until you get to the stitch marker. So now I go here to the stitch marker, I'm going to remove it, and then into that one, we are going to work 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2 double crochets into the same stitch. And now from here, we are going to be working the next 9 rows following the same steps as before. So chain 1, turn work, into the very first one, work 2 double crochets to increase at the beginning. And now you're going to be working 1 double crochet into every stitch until you get to that very last stitch. So when you get into the last one, where you have the stitch marker, work 2 double crochets into that last one. And now from here, you can repeat the same steps as the previous row until you have 20 rows in total. So this is what the next section is going to look like. Now I have the next 10 rows completed. We have here 20 in total. Now we are going to be making the last section. And we are going to be making this third one here, following the same steps as the second one. So I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and then if you want, you can add the stitch markers. So count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 stitch marker into stitch number 6, and then from the last stitch you're going to count 6 as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then place a stitch marker here. So I'm going to slip stitch until I get to the first stitch marker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then remove the stitch marker. So now chain 1, and then into stitch number 6, work 2 double crochets. If you want, you can place a stitch marker into the first double crochet. I usually do because it's very close to the chain 1 here, so I just place a stitch marker here just to make sure that when I come back, I know that this is the first one I made. And now I'm going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch until I get to the second stitch marker. So I got here to the second stitch marker, I'm going to remove it, and into that stitch I'm going to work 2 double crochets. And now from here you can repeat the same steps as before, increase at the beginning and at the end, and then 1 double crochet into the stitches in between the increases. And we are going to be doing the increases for the next 9 rows. So in total, we are going to be having 30 rows. So I just finished making row 30, and this is what it looks like. So the tree is now complete. So if this is your first tree, you are going to be leaving enough yarn for the weave in, cut it, fasten off, and weave in the two ends. And also for the first tree, when you make the bottom of it, you're going to cut it and fasten off and weave in, and then the tree is going to look like this. Now for the second tree you are going to be making, we are not going to fasten off. So we are going to be leaving the yarn as it is here. I'm just going to pull a nice large loop here so that we don't lose any stitches at the end. And then we are going to be making the bottom, because with this one, I'm going to slip stitch the two sides together and slip stitch it all the way around, joining the two sides together. Feel free to use any other method you prefer. That's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to now show you how to do the bottom of the tree. Here for the bottom, you can choose as many stitches as you want to do. What I did, I've counted 10 and then I've started on stitch number 11. And then I did the same here to the other side. So let's begin here on the right side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then add a stitch marker into stitch 11. And then I'm going to do the same to the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm going to add a stitch marker into stitch 11. So I'm going to be joining the two yarns I'm going to be using for the bottom. I have here the cotton and the acrylic one. Leave enough yarn for the weave in and then make a slip knot. And now feel free to attach your yarn into any of the stitch markers. It doesn't matter which side you're going to be using. I'm going to use this side here. So go into the first stitch marker, remove it, and then attach with a slip stitch. Now chain one, and then into the same one, work a double crochet. And now you're going to be working one double crochet into every single stitch until you get to the stitch marker. When you get into the other stitch marker, remove it, and then make one double crochet into that one. And here's the bottom. So now you simply have to go back and forth, making as many rows as you want for the bottom. So I'm going to chain one, turn my work, and then I'm going to double crochet into every stitch down. So I got here at the end. Make sure that you get that very last one, and the chain one is not gonna count as a stitch. So chain one again, turn your work, and follow the same steps. Double crochet all the way down. And this one for me is going to be the last row. I've decided to go for only 3 rows here at the bottom, but feel free to do more or even less if you want to. So before we fasten off, we have to leave enough yarn for the sewing we are going to be doing of the two together. So I'm gonna leave 5 times of yarn the size of the bottom here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm gonna cut it, and now I'm going to fasten off. So chain one and fasten off. Now if you want to, you can weave in the other 2 ends. I'm gonna do that. So as I have mentioned, the first one you do, you're going to weave in everything. There are no yarns attached, as you can see. And then the second one is the one that you're going to be leaving all the yarns to join and sew the 2 sides together. So for the bottom and also around the tree as well. So now the next thing we are going to be doing will be making a stuffed lining to line and stuff the Christmas tree cushion. I prefer doing this way, but feel free to use any other method you prefer. You can even start joining the 2 sides together and then stuff it. So this is the fabric I'm going to be using. It's going to be a black fabric, and this fabric is very thick and very structured. Look at that. And having a thick fabric is going to help to maintain the shape of the tree. So I'm going to take my fabric and fold it in half so I can cut the 2 sides at the same time. So I'm going to be taking the first one I made, gonna place it right here at the bottom, and just spread it around and stretch it out exactly to the size that you want. And now you want to use something to trace around it. I am using chalk. And now I'm going to be tracing the shape of the tree onto my fabric. And I'm gonna do it exactly the same size, because then when I'm sewing, I can make it smaller with the seam allowance. Ooh! So now I'm going to be cutting around, following the lines. So here I have the two sides of the lining I need. Now to sew the lining, I'm going to be using my sewing machine. I'm going to be sewing all the way around and then just leaving the bottom here open so that we can stuff the lining. I'm going to be following my machine foot here for the seam allowance. That is about 1/2 centimeter. I'm going to be cutting the corners straight like this so that when I flip it inside out, the corners will be nice and sharp. So now I'm going to turn it inside out and then just make sure that I get the corners out really nicely. I'm going to try and push it with my scissors. Yeah, that's good. Here's the lining. I'm going to press it now just to make sure that everything is nice and flat. So this is what the lining looks like. Now I'm going to stuff it and close the bottom. When stuffing, you want to get right into the top, make that really nice and stuffed, and also the little corners. So you want to make it super stuffed. Once I'm happy with the top, I'm gonna move into the second section and I'm going to stuff it really, really well. And pushing and moving the stuffing around, especially into the little corners. Look at it. It's so nice and fluffy. So I think I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to be, this is the last thing for the lining. I'm simply just gonna join the two parts together here at the bottom. And I'm going to zigzag stitch this close. Stuffed lining done. I'm just moving a little bit of the stuffing towards the bottom here. And I think we are done. Yes! This is so cute. Look at it. Now the last thing we have to do is to sew the two sides of the cushion around the stuffed lining. So first you want to take the first one you made, place it at the bottom. Then you want to take the stuffed lining, place it on top. And now the last one you made goes on top. And now we can sew all the way around. I'm going to start here at the bottom. So I'm going to be using a tapestry needle to sew the bottom. So I'm going to be threading these two ends that I have here into a tapestry needle. Because my yarn is here, I'm gonna transfer it to here so that I can start the sewing with the sides going across and the other side here. I'm simply just gonna move the end to where I want to start, right here. And I'm not gonna tighten them, I'm just gonna leave it like this. Now I'm going to join the two sides together. I can move the lining out of the way now. I'm going to be sewing these two first. So I'm going to take one stitch of each side. I'm going to try and match it and then sew it together. Get one stitch of both sides and sew it together. And then I'm going to repeat this all the way around. When you get to the longer side, you have the stitches, so it's a lot easier. So you just have to follow the stitches here. So once you finish the sewing around, go through the last two again. Before you finish the sewing, you want to go through the loop and make it really nice and tight to fasten off. And now you can take this to the reverse and then you can weave in. Now I'm just gonna put the bottom of the stuffed lining right into the bottom. So before I join the crochet pieces together, I'm just gonna be clipping using these little clips around a little bit, just so that it's not gonna be moving around when I'm joining the parts together. So my yarn is right here, and if I start from here and go all the way around, I'm still gonna have this little section to sew. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to slip stitch all the way to here first, and then from here I can just sew all the way around in one go. So I'm going to chain one, and then I'm going to slip stitch all the way to the bottom here. So now that we are here, we have to turn our work so that we can start joining this way. So I'm going to chain one just so that I can start, and my yarn is here at the top. You want to hold all the layers together, and then you want to go through all the layers. So go through, find a little stitch, go through the top layer and then the bottom layer. You're going to pull up a loop, and then you're going to slip stitch. Find a little stitch up into the top layer and the bottom layer, and then slip stitch. And now this is how I'm going to be going all the way around and joining the two parts together. When you get into the corner, you're simply just gonna follow it around. Here I'm going to turn because now I'm gonna go up. The only tip I can give you when it comes to joining and sewing the sides here together is first make sure that you match the sides perfectly. So hold it together, perfectly matching the points, the 3 points we have, also the top one, and just sew it around perfectly. Also when you get to the bottom here as well, sew all the way to the bottom, all the way to the bottom here, and then go up. And then follow that line again, all the way up to here, and then out. Just make sure that you follow that perfectly around so that you have the perfect little points like this. It's looking so cute. So now I'm going to continue sewing all the way around. Also, you can sew using any other method. I just really love doing this way because it's easier to hold and just to slip stitch all the way around. So I'm going to now join and sew all the way around, and then I'll meet you here at the end. So once you finish the sewing and you're here at the end, you're just gonna find a stitch very close to the bottom here. And then you're going to slip stitch. Now you can chain one, cut enough yarn for the weave in, and fasten off. And now you can weave in. And now you can just move the crochet around the lining to fix it around, and we are done. I cannot believe it. No way. Stop it. Are you ready to see it? Look at it. This is the cutest thing I have ever made for Christmas. What do you think of my Christmas tree cushion? Let me know in the comments. And I'm so happy that I have used this yarn. It's so, first of all, it's super soft. This yarn is incredibly soft, but the texture that it has, it's really adorable, and it looks like a Christmas tree, an actual Christmas tree. Maybe here? Oh, stop it. Look at that. It's so adorable. I never had a festive cushion before, so this is super special and is in crochet as well, so it's even more special. I really like it, and now I want to make another one. And if you want to, you could actually decorate it, maybe adding some baubles around, or maybe some little strings of lights around as well. That would look really cute. A star. I wanted to make mine a little bit more simple. I've always wanted to make a cushion, and this is my very first cushion like this in a different shape. I'm so happy that I made it. Now definitely next year I'm gonna be making some more different cushions. If you end up making one, don't forget to tag me so I can see your Christmas tree. If this is your last Christmas project, let me know in the comments as well. And don't forget to tag me so I can see how you made yours. So thank you so much for watching. Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a lovely time with your family. Also, happy holidays, enjoy your holidays, and I'll see you in my next video, in which is next week. Bye!